Mr. Stephen Lussier is the CEO of Ferevmark Global. A lot of you are familiar with Stephen. He's been a part of this long permanence that I referred to, and he's been a stalwart at De Beers from a very long time. He has been the one person who's led Ferevmark to become a most important phenomenon in the global diamond business. He also is the chairman of the Diamond Producers Association, which is going to lead the promotion of generic marketing in our markets in this upcoming season. It is my pleasure to invite Stephen on stage. Please join me in giving him a big round of applause, Mr. Stephen Lussier. Welcome, Stephen.
Good afternoon. Wow, you guys have really been busy since I've been here last year. I hadn't realized, Sachin, quite so many activities that the Indian team, together with all of our partners, have been executing, but it's extraordinarily exciting to see it all in one place. Now, I'm going to talk to you a little bit to try to bring some perspectives that I've seen from markets around the world that I think could potentially be impactful here in future, and which, if we plan for now, we can thrive as a result. But I think to start, I'm reminded of this Chinese proverb. Actually, I think technically it's called a Chinese curse. And sometimes the Chinese say they didn't even invent the slogan. But this concept of may you live in interesting times. The concept of interesting times was mean actually quite difficult times, challenging times. And there's no doubt that if we look over the past 18 months in India, but globally, well, they've been interesting times for you. You had the PAN cards, you had demonetization, you've now got the GST. At the same time, in the diamond world, we've seen the impact of the digital distribution channels on profits and price and margin. We've seen millennial consumers who behave differently than their generations which preceded them. It's a time of quite a lot of change. But I think the key to looking at a time of a lot of change is to think within that there is always opportunity for those who can see where the future is headed and to capitalize and act on it quickly. And recently I went to a presentation, some of you in the room were there, the Business Excellence Seminar that De Beers held with its site holders in London, and there was a speaker named Vijay Govindarajan. He said, just call me VG. And VG is a professor at Dartmouth University, the business school in the US. And VG gave what I thought across all the 36 years that I've seen business strategy presentations, he gave what was both the simplest, the clearest, and the most, to me, motivating presentation about business strategy than I've ever seen. And I wanted to share just a little bit of that with you because I think it's so important to what we're all trying to do together with Ferevmark and the diamond business here in India. And the core, I'll put them up together. The core of his strategy was this concept of 3 boxes. And he has these 3 boxes: manage the present, selectively forget the past, and create the future. Very simple idea. And then VG said, he visits companies all over the world. And the first thing he says to them when he goes in is, could you show me your strategy, please, your strategy document? And he says 99% of the time, what he's given is not a strategy document. It's a 5-year forecast of the present, looking forward. So they take what they're doing now, and they say, then we're going to do this and this and this, and incrementally get better. And he says that's important stuff, but it is not strategy. That's what he calls managing the present, box 1. Remember that concept, box 1 thinking. Very important to do. You need to always be working on optimizing the present, but it's not the same thing as strategy. Strategy is about box 2 and box 3. And he had two examples that I think illustrate this so clearly for me. The one was about the transportation business. And he talked about traveling from London to New York in the late 18th century. And he said by then, in those days, you traveled by ship, and beginning by sailboat. It would take about 4 weeks to get from New York from London to New York then. So they set out on optimizing that box 1. And the big innovation was to go from sails to engines, steam engines. So they got, by 1905, they were down to about 5 days. And then they kept optimizing. Then they got it to 4.5 days in 1934, record crossing. Today, optimizing, they can do it in about 4 days if you go on the QE2 from London to New York. So that's fantastic optimization. Haven't they done extraordinarily well? They've gone from 4 weeks to 4 days. The problem is somebody else was thinking about box 3. They invented a plane, and they can do it in 6 hours. So all that optimizing actually has not won the transportation battle. It's been won by the planes with a whole new approach. And that's the difference between box 1 and box 3. And then his other great example, which I'm sure 95% of you in the room have somehow participated in, which again made it clear, was the simple concept of the high jump. Now, when you were in school, did you have to do the high jump? If you were as old as me, when you did the high jump, you would have done what's called the scissors. You run up to the bar, one leg goes over, the other leg goes over, and you end up standing on the other side. The famous scissor jump. VG plotted the Olympic gold medal heights that people achieved over the last century, starting with the scissors. And you see on the left, they were optimizing the scissors. It went from, that looks like about 1.85 meters to a little, maybe 1.9 over that period of time. So his lesson was there's only so far you could go in optimizing that behavior until you think that's a box 1. The scissor guys were getting better and better. Somebody then thought box 3 and invented a new way. First was the Western roll. You can see, then they optimized it. Then the straddle came in, optimized it. In the end, the big breakthrough with the Fosbury flop, which nearly doubles the height of the scissors. You could do all the optimizing in the world and on the scissors, and you were never going to get as high as the flop. And that's the difference between box 1 and box 3. So yeah, we need to think hard about optimizing, because if you stop optimizing, you're going to get beat today. But if you only optimize, someone else is going to come in with a box 3 thinking, and you're going to be left behind. In the Olympics today, there are no scissor jumpers. There are only Fosbury floppers. So we need to think about what that's going to be like in the future. And the last thing he said, which I think really can crystallize for all of us in this room action, is he said, so let me talk about box 3. If I want you to think about box 3, don't talk to me about what you're doing today. Talk to me about what your business is going to be 10 years from now. What's it going to be like in 2027? What things do you need to be doing in 2027 to be successful? Because somebody else is going to be moved from the scissors of today to the flop by 2027. And if you're still doing the scissors, you're going to be left behind. I thought that was so clear, and to focus our thinking around the future. And importantly, while we didn't know it really at the time, when we didn't know it was about box 1 and box 3, when De Beers were working on the concept of Forevermark, we were thinking very much about box 3. What could we do that would prepare us for 10 years from now and give us the potential to fundamentally change the way that the business is done? Now, I want you to hold that thought just for a minute, the box 3 idea. Remember it. For a moment, I'm going to talk a little bit about what is not going to change over that period of time. And Sachin has touched on it a little bit. You might think, what does this picture possibly have to do with the diamond industry and what's not going to change? And actually, what's happening in that picture? The one on the right is my son Sam, now 13 years old. The one on the left is Frankie Dettori, champion jockey. And this was just after Sam's grandfather's horse had won the biggest race in the UK 2 summers ago. So actually, Frankie Dettori has nothing to do with my story, but I like the picture, so I put it up there for you. But I thought you'd remember it. The story is about Sam, sort of. Now, Sam is my 3rd son, and when my wife was pregnant with Sam, she said to me, you know, you're going to have 3 boys. For the 3rd boy, you're going to have to pay up, Stephen. I want this Cartier watch that I have wanted for 20 years, and when the 3rd boy comes, you're going to buy me the watch. I said, okay, fair enough. You've earned the watch. I'll buy you the Cartier watch. And it was about 2 weeks after Sam was born, and we were sitting in the cinema waiting for the movie to start, and she turned to me and said, you know, Stephen, I don't want that watch. No, first she said, Stephen, the watch. I said, yeah, I know you want the watch. I'm definitely going to get you the watch. Don't worry, I know I haven't done it yet. We'll go in the next week and we'll pick out the watch. She said, actually, I don't want the watch. Oh, what do you mean you don't? You've been going on for, decades about wanting this watch. What do you mean you don't want the watch? She said, you know, I've decided instead I want a diamond. And the most important thing she then said was, I want a diamond because when Sam gets married, I can give him that diamond and I can say, your father gave me this when you were born. It'll be special, it'll be emotionally significant. And I can't do that with a watch. It's just a watch. And that's summed up to me, and it is so true with every generation. And what Sachin was saying as well, it is the fundamental thing we must always keep. A diamond must have a non-financial, non-status, non-fashion, emotional meaning. And if it has that meaning, we will survive across every generation. We will thrive across every generation and across every culture, because the need to express that exists everywhere. And other luxury goods would kill to have that benefit, to kill to be able to symbolize and represent that emotion. So our task very much is to keep that alive in every culture and amongst every generation. And if we keep that alive, we have the opportunity, I would say we have the foundation for a successful future. And that's where the DPA, the Diamond Producers Association, comes into play, I think, a more important role going forward. Now, as Sachin said, with my many hats, one of them, I'm chairman of the Diamond Producers Association, and I've got a very simple mission for that, and that's to keep this emotional symbolism, to build it and to keep it alive everywhere. And with the support here in India as well of the GJEPC, who's been a strong supporter, together with the other producers, we've substantially increased our spend around the DPA, marketing investment, and will be a strong player in India in the second half of this year with that core emotional meaning that uniquely belongs to the diamond. And I think that's a great foundation. I should say it's a great foundation, but it's not enough anymore for your individual success. It'll take us along the path, huh? It's very useful. It'll keep box 1 alive. It'll make box 3 possible, but it doesn't deliver box 3. That's going to take a bit more, and that, I think, is where Forevermark comes in. The other thing that VG said to us at this forum in London was he said, it's not so easy, huh? 2027, what's it going to be like? How do I know what things I'm going to do in 2027 that I need to do to be ready for 2027? How do I know what I do now? I might be wrong. I might do the wrong things. Instead of doing the Fosbury flop, I might invent something and it doesn't work. How do I know what to do? And of course, that's what makes business interesting. You need insight. You need risk. It's not all obvious, but that's what separates those who succeed from those who don't. But he did say, you don't completely need a crystal ball. He said most of the things that will be really important in 2027 are already there somewhere today. They may not be the biggest thing, but they're there. People are already trying them. And our task is to try to see them, and that helps us prepare and predict and place our bets on the future. And we call them clues. So what are the clues in 2017 that can become, for us, the reality in 2027 that we prepare for now? And I think we have one really significant advantage in the diamond business, jewelry business here in India, and a perspective that I'm fortunate to have is that I can see what's happening all around the world. And I suspect at least some of those things that are happening today and are really significant today in our largest markets, take the US, and we'll look at that in a little detail, that those things could be clues to what's going to happen in India in the future. And if we look and learn from them, we can actually make them work for us rather than being, in some ways, the challenges that they've been for many jewelers and jewelry firms in America, where they haven't had the time perhaps to prepare sufficiently, or at least they didn't see the clues 10 years back and are now racing to try to catch up. So I'm going to share with you a few what I think are critical factors that are influencing the American jewelry business. You can decide whether you think these are things that are going to be important in 2027 in India or are already important, or maybe some of them not likely to be an issue for you. You know that better than us. My gut feeling is they're all to some degree going to come here, and 2027 may be optimistic about how long it takes to actually impact. But let's talk about one of them. If I go to an American jeweler, American today is still the largest diamond market in the world. Nearly half the sales of diamonds are bought by Americans in the consumer market. Growing pretty consistently. Little dip during the recession in 2009, but if you look over a long period of time, growing. Still growing last year, 4 or 5%. Still likely to grow 4 or 5% this year. You'd probably say, well, that all sounds pretty good. If I stop any American jeweler and say, how is it? It must be good. What does he say to me? He says, can't make money. Yeah, I can sell them. Can't make money. I can't make profit on diamonds. And what he's really saying is that if all the tools he has, and he's learning this, if he only has generic diamonds without a story, without a differentiation, if he only has a generic diamond, he can't get the prices he used to get because the internet has disrupted his ability not to sell diamonds, but to sell them at a margin that allows him to be profitable. And certification, the combination of generic diamonds and generic certification has made that more difficult, because that's when you go on the internet, you see the Blue Nile pricing, they come into the store with the pricing, they want the same price. They want to buy in store, but they don't want to pay more than that price. And he's armed with nothing. This is an issue which is going to be an issue for everyone. It's coming, we see it now coming into China in a greater degree than before. It's going to come everywhere. So we need to think, if in 2027 this is like a scissor behavior, selling diamonds this way is doing the scissors, someone's going to come and do the Fosbury flop on you. You really need to think, It's a real clue, and it's already there. Brands is a big clue. Now, you might say, I would say that, wouldn't I? Huh? I'm CEO of Forever Mark. We want to be the biggest diamond brand. But I can tell you that the brand story is powering its way through other parts of the world as well. In Japan today, diamond engagement rings are almost entirely branded. There's hardly one sold that doesn't come with a more emotional branded story. In China, Chinese wedding consumers tell us they want brands because they trust in brands. Brands stand behind their product. A brand is something to be trusted. In buying diamonds, you need trust. Brands are very strong there. America has probably been the country for the longest time where the big global brands struggle to succeed, struggle to make inroads. But it's changing, and it's changing rapidly. A decade ago, less than 5% of American brides said that the diamond that they received for their engagement ring was branded. So 95%, what I showed you before, generic. In our latest survey, nearly 40% of all brides said that their diamond was branded. Now, it may be a good brand, maybe not a good brand, but the concept in their head is that they're buying now a differentiated product. So brands, to me, the clue is out there, and I think that's good for all of us in the room because we're all in the branded world now with Forever Mark. But it's going to grow, and we need to foster it and develop it to ride that wave. Social responsibility, transparency. There are different words for it, but the meaning is very much still the same. We see this from millennial consumers, much more than older consumers. Young consumers today, and it's not unique to diamonds, across all product categories and particularly in luxury, because to buy a luxury seems a little bit sort of selfish in this world of less materialism and less status that we see worldwide trend amongst millennials. But if it's consumerism with a purpose, with a value that creates a benefit to society, that's a wave that's growing. So we need to think in the diamond sector, how do we ride that wave? Again, obvious, I'll come back, Forever Mark meets that brief, but it's an important one to remember. Consumers will ask you more, tell me about this product. What did it do? What benefit did it create? What benefit have you created in selling it to us? We can see that clue. Those who get this right are going to be winners. The retail experience. I think this is probably the most important challenge our sector has. And again, Sachin's reference, we think that the future continues to lie in people buying diamond jewelry in stores. We think they have a big advantage. But if we don't have really compelling stores, we're going to lose consumers to other sectors, not just to the digital world. And stores all over the world are really being disrupted by the digital phenomenon. It doesn't matter what country you're in, you're reading about retailers, big established retailers who are struggling for their existence because their business is so disrupted. And the crucial thing to succeed, if you're, as we are going to be, I think, a store-based marketplace, doesn't mean we don't need to have important digital stuff. And I'll come on to that in the next point. But we need to make our stores really magnets for consumers. You know, too often I hear people say, not so much in India today, it's the good news. I hear in America people say, oh, I had to go to the store because I wanted to get a diamond. I had to get through that experience. Like it's a negative. Going and buying it is a negative part of having to get it. If that's true, it'll all go to digital. But if the store experience is a value-adding part, you want to go into the store because the experience is joyful, then that becomes part of the process. And I'm going to tell you a short, again, sorry the personal stories, but I think that always makes me understand better the difference between magnet for store and digital. Living in London, what's the one thing you really need? Probably an umbrella, but not an umbrella, you need a raincoat. It rains a lot. You need a good raincoat, and I needed a new one. So I went off to Selfridges, the department store, because I thought there's a good place. They have all the little boutiques. I don't know what kind of raincoat I want, and I could see them all in one place in one afternoon, try them on. And so I went and did the whole bit, and I decided I wanted this Burberry raincoat. And they didn't have my size in the color that I wanted in the style, but I could try on one. It was like the wrong color, and I could try another one on. It was the color, but not the style. So anyway, we worked it out. And they said, don't worry, you just write down. We'll write down the codes, and then when you go home, you go online and order it, and it'll come the next day. And so off I went to home to do it, got it up on the website. There it was. All I had to do was press the button, and it would be in my house in a day. So there's the ultimate digital experience. And just before I hit the button, I thought, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to ring the store, the flagship store, and I'm going to go tomorrow to the flagship store and get my coat there. And I did that. And I wondered afterwards, why did I do that? What was it that made me want to go into the convenience? I just surrendered hours of time. And we're all pretty busy, a couple of hours is a lot. And it's the same coat. And I thought, in the end, I just want a little bit for my extraordinary amount of money that you have to pay for a Burberry raincoat. I want like the full Burberry benefit. I want the cappuccino that the guy's going to give me. When I put it on, I want the very pretty sales assistant to say, oh, you look so good at that. I wanted to soak in a bit of the brand, the feeling of it. And I thought afterwards, actually, that made that coat worth more to me than just getting the coat. And that's the lesson I think that we have to take for the jewelry world. It has to be more than just the product you leave with. The experience of getting it has to be something that makes you inherently happy as well. And people will pay for happiness in this life. And there are, I guess, a few key tools to that, in that experience. One is power of people. It is no doubt the single most important thing is the salespeople, yourself, if you're dealing with customers, and the salespeople in the store. It's the thing that makes you comfortable, makes you happy, makes you feel smart in what you're selecting, makes you feel confident, makes you feel welcome. It's so important. And again, I urge you guys, in your regular business life, just always think when you go into some place, where did I like that? Where did I like those people? Where did I not like it? I mean, I spend lots of times flying on airlines. I can give you the list in rank order, which airlines have the good service and which ones have the bad. You just feel it, and you just want to go on the ones with the good. This hotel, the service here is extraordinarily good. I noticed that. I've noticed how good they are, how attentive. Everybody is asking me, when I was getting my meal, the chef comes out and says, oh, how is that? Oh, and he runs behind to get me something else. They're all interested in making me happy. So what? I'll come back. If I come back to Calcutta, where am I going to stay? I'll stay here. If it was ordinary and Sachin says, oh, we've got some other hotel, oh, okay, I'd go there. Service is just everything in this day and age. The other thing I think is important is around the store telling a story about what your brand, our brand, and our product is about. And when I say a store telling a story, that's a little bit the Burberry thing. I wanted to go in because I wanted to feel part of that Burberry world. But the way to go in is to say, if you go into your store, do it in your own store. Think if you come in here for the very first time, no one can speak to you, so salespeople can't say anything. All you can do is look. Can you then articulate what this place is about? My biggest challenge often is I say, in Diamonds, we're about love, emotion, commitment, warmth, about the future. I want to walk in, and with no one saying anything to me, and not looking at any of the product in the displays, those are the words I want to feel. When I go into a Ralph Lauren store for a polo shirt, I can assure you I feel like I'm in sort of English aristocrat or some English public school boy It has that feeling. You just feel it. The furniture feels like that. Everything feels like that. I'm buying into that brand. That's why I go there. It reinforces what we are. So, does it feel like love, warmth, emotion, and commitment in our environments? I leave that question there. Those who create that, I think they'll be magnets for consumers. And the last retail point I want to leave you with is this concept of the wonder moment. The wonder moment. We learn this from millennials. There needs to be one moment in that store selling experience that creates the wonder, the wow, that you can only get in store. Can't get it online. You can search for designs, you can learn about qualities, you can learn about the brands, you can go way down the shopping experience, but in store there has to be something that's a wow. And technology can help us a lot with that, to create the wow. We know when someone sees the inscription on a Forever Mark diamond, they feel that wow. They say, wow. It's a wonder moment, but we can do so much more. Sachin has purposefully organized quite a lot of inspiration, call it technological inspiration, around the forum. And I urge you, look at it and just think creatively. How could I do something like that? How could I use something like that to create a wonder moment? You know what the simplest wonder moment is? And if you don't all have this in your store, you better get back and do it on Friday. You better have some place in that store where people can take a selfie, or you can take the picture for them in the store when they bought. What do we see? The highest posted in America, the highest posted Facebook image in the diamond sector is the moment when they got the ring in store. So where's the backdrop? Where's the emotion? Where's the Forever Mark logo that could appear in there? So when it goes out on the Facebook world, think about it. They want to take that picture, make an environment. It's a wonder moment for them that they remember evermore. Most importantly, they share it. So there's a lot we can do, but if we don't do it, if we don't think about box 3 in terms of the in-store world, and we stay in the box 1, we're going to be scissors when somebody's going to Fosbury flop us. And if it's a different industry that does the flop, then we lose that business to other luxury goods players. So a lot to think about there. My last point about the clues for the future is digital. And I won't go on at length about this because Sachin's touched on it and we'll see much more of it as we go. But it's completely clear to me that marketing, not necessarily selling in our sector, but marketing in our sector, this is where the battle is going to be. This is where we need, as an industry, to be expert at to succeed. Other industries are really investing in this capability. Luxury goods have generally come late to it, but investing now significantly in the skills. Forever Mark is investing in these capabilities and these skills. And if in your teams you don't have people who are expert in this area of social media, of banners, of paid search, you better get them. These are the marketing heads of the 2027 Box 3 future. And actually for our industry, it's great news. This digital marketing for us is great news because we're a high interest category. We're not bought every day, infrequently purchased, and we're expensive. Consumers will search in the digital world for information about diamonds and diamond jewelry. Much more so than if we were trying to sell them a candy bar or something. They think, why should I waste any time? But actually, with our product, we've got a great opportunity. But we need to really excite them when they get there. We need to be in that world. Otherwise, we'll lose their top-of-mind awareness. Sachin will talk at length about things we're doing. But it's so critical. So to sum up, I think, I love this box 1 and box 3 language. I think it works so well for me. Forever Mark, we think, is both box 1. There's a lot we're doing today. Forever Mark in 2017, as Sachin has said, we're 2,300 doors. That's got to be one of the fastest growing brands in the world. We're only less than a decade old worldwide. We've only been in India and America since 2011. So we're gaining huge traction. We should inscribe some 400,000 diamonds this year in our facilities in Surat and Antwerp and Maidenhead. And as Sachin said, last May, we did number 2 million inscription in that short amount of time. So we're growing very rapidly, but there's a lot we can do in box 1 to optimize Forevermark. And a lot of it is here. Design is here. We need new designs to excite customers. We've got to invest in sales training to get our sales staff great. We've got to build the Forevermark areas in our stores to create that environment. We need to be fantastic at the digital marketing world. All of that we've got to keep getting better and better, because that's optimizing box 1. But I think Forevermark was designed with 2027 in mind. We're moving beyond the 4 C's. I want to leave the 4 C's behind. That's one thing in box 2 I'm going to get rid of. We don't need the 4 C's. It's about beauty of the diamonds. And that's where we need to focus. We're already on that path. Responsible sourcing is fundamental to Forevermark. We know that's a need for the future. Investing in excitement and wonder for stores is part of the Forevermark future. I think we're thinking very much about 2027. There'll be other things we haven't thought of yet. We've got time to think about them, and we'll keep working on them. But I think it's where the future is, and I think we're all collectively here well-positioned to take advantage of that future. The only thing we really need is commitment. And I guess the last thing for me to say is, on behalf of the broader De Beers Group and Forevermark, we are 100% committed to making this Forevermark the world's most powerful diamond brand and core to our business in 2027. Thanks very much.